Hello, and welcome to Heroes of the Halcyon, the best, and to the best of our knowledge, only Galactic Starcruiser Superfan podcast on the interwebs. I'm Galactic Starcruiser Superfan Drew, and with me are...
Superfan Christine.
And Superfan Martin.
We have a great episode for you tonight. Martin, why don't you tell us about it?
Well, we have got some Star Wars community superstars with us today. Justin and Naomi Sonfield. And Justin is the Legion commanding officer of the 501st Legion. And we're going to talk to him all about that fantastic organization. And his wife, Naomi, works for Magic Family Getaways, which specializes not only in Disney vacation planning, but Galactic Starcruiser vacation planning as well.
But before we get into the episode, let's talk about our Starcruiser Superfan Muster Meetup. The meetup is going to be on May 2nd. It's going to be at Planet Hollywood in Disney Springs. And tickets go on sale March 4th through Eventbrite. And that's noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific. And you'll find more details about the event on Instagram and Facebook.
One last thing before we go on with the rest of our episode, we wanted to give a quick round of thanks to our patrons at patreon.com/Heroes of the Halcyon. Your support truly helps us produce this content, and we genuinely appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, tell you what, let's go Starcruising with Justin and Naomi Sonfield.
Well, Justin and Naomi, thanks for joining us for this episode. It's great to see you guys.
Thank you for having us.
We're so excited to be here.
It's so fun to do these episodes because we get to meet all these people. I know. Have you guys met Naomi and Justin in person?
Not in person
No.
yet.
Yeah, nice. So it's good to see you guys and actually talk to you. So
Thank you.
Let's start this podcast the way we normally do. I'd love to hear from each of you. Where did your love of Star Wars come from?
Oh, you want to take the lead
I'll
on
go
Star
first because
Wars.
I'm the older person here. So my love of Star Wars happened on the fourth day of release of A New Hope. It wasn't even called A New Hope back then. My father and mother had seen the movie, I think on the premiere night in New Orleans, Louisiana, and said, "Oh my God, Justin's going to love this." And I'm 4.5 years old, so I don't know how they figured that out. But fourth day of the showing, my dad took me and I was just completely hooked. So from there on out, I like to say I could have been an incredible athlete, but instead I just fell in love with Star Wars, and that shaped my entire life at that point.
Awesome.
How about you?
Mine came a little later in life. I was always a fan of, sci-fi, everything, but I kind of fell in between the first trilogy and the prequels, or the first original series and the prequels. So it was really more when I met Justin, I knew what Star Wars was. And we both also had a love of costuming and cosplaying at the time. And so we kind of combined that together, and that's how we met. And then we had combined this love of two things. You really introduced me a lot to in-depth Star Wars. And then we had our son, and he loved Star Wars. And when Justin wasn't around, I was a stay-at-home mom. We'd watch the movies, and our son would ask me all these questions, and I had to have the answer. Like, I couldn't say, "Oh, I don't know that character," or "I don't know," So we just all watched everything as a family, and then the final trilogy came out, and we watched that in the theater and fell in love again. And then, it's just been a rolling forward.
A lot of Star Wars.
Lots of Star Wars.
She was pre-wired for all of this because she loved Harry Potter and anything with a wizard or a
Lord
queen or anything like that. So
This is just Space Wizards is what this is.
Yes.
pretty much it. Yeah.
Harry, you're a space wizard. Or Luke, you're a space wizard. Yeah, that's good. What I love, Naomi, is I see you on the couch going, "Okay, Hammerhead guy's name is this.
Yes.
Walrus guy's name is this." That's awesome.
Well, it's just funny that back in the day, we didn't have all the DK books or the Wikipedia that we have now. And really, we knew the obscure character names because they had action figures.
Right.
Walrus
Sure.
Man, Hammerhead. I mean, that's Snaggletooth. That's the only reason that all of us kids knew who these obscure characters were.
Right.
Well, thank goodness for those action figures, too.
Thank goodness for those action figures.
There's generations of dogs that went through life with these great names. That worked out really nice. Snaggletooth, come here.
That's right.
So how does
In our current, we just got a new puppy, and he's the first dog we've ever named after a Star Wars character, but we'll save that.
Oh, I wasn't teeing up, but that's a nice coincidence. I love it. So how does Star Wars fit into your daily lives?
Not at all. So I run a home decor company, and from when the pandemic shut everything down, and we all went, somewhat virtual or now hybrid. I think we both started on the kitchen counter at that point in time, and then at some point said, I kind of need a proper office, and I wanted it to look professional and like the brand that I represent, and instead it looks like this. So there's Star Wars pretty much every single day in this house, whether we're watching something. I'll be honest, in the last, year and a half, it's been you guys, the Thank the Maker Network, the Dad Batch group, that's Princess and Scoundrel, all of those, and Dano, everyone that is out there. We come home, we listen and or watch whatever is on. Obviously, there's been some great content from Lucasfilm out there as well. So it's every day. And then in the wintertime, we're making costumes. So we have kind of two phases of the year. There's sailing and Star Wars. And, the sailing season is very short in the New York area. So we have to kind of take full advantage of that. And our weekends are done there. But when it's cold and the boat's put away, we are pretty much making costumes every week.
Going on vacation.
Going on vacations to Disney.
Yeah.
Nice.
Galaxy's Edge as much as we can.
How about your day? How does Star Wars figure out your day every day?
Every day. Well, so shortly before the Starcruiser was released for booking, I was a stay-at-home mom, and there is a travel agency in our town that a neighbor runs. And they reached out to me to become a travel agent. And it was perfect because, being a huge Star Wars fan, having costumes, going to, Star Wars Celebration, it was a great opportunity for me to learn more about something that we already knew we were going to do. And so that's kind of how it launched into this new career path. That's very exciting. And, we've been Walt Disney World annual pass holders for years. So we just had a lot of knowledge, and I kind of soaked all that in. And it's so much fun to be able to plan vacations for people to go to the most magical place on earth.
Yeah, it has to be pretty neat because I know for like the trips and stuff that we've planned, Martin is our planner.
Yeah.
So for all the trips that we've been on, that you kind of hone in like, okay, I know that I have to do this on this day or make sure that I do this before this and all that kind of stuff. And because you've been doing that for your family, now you can do that for other families. So that's really neat that you've been, you had all that experience before you even started.
But I'm going to point out that as obsessive a planner as I am, it's been a great thing this past year to discover Disney travel agents that do this for us now.
Yes, that is good. And
Yes, thank you.
I don't have to track all these days anymore.
It's a relief, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes.
And again, it's impossible to keep up with the stuff as much as it changes and things get released. Trust a professional. I mean, I can't believe that I never used one before. But let's ask. This is a question I'm dying to ask. You kind of teased it a little bit before, but how and when did your passion for cosplay start? And I think both of your answers might be different.
Yeah, very, very different. So I had to think about it recently, and it became very apropos because Hasbro just released this Ghostbusters authentic the accelerator backpack and wand, and I like many geeks ordered that, and when I received it, I realized I was thinking about back to the last one of these that I had, and it was actually my first cosplay. So the year Ghostbusters came out at Halloween, we got some Dickies one suits, and I remember my mom got in very non-Ghostbusters looking felt lettering my last name on this gray flight suit that was way too big because we were way too small to fit in anything even remotely close. And the backpack that we built was, those I think they're 2-gallon water jugs that have a handle on it. You get them. So we'd put 2 of those on top of each other, taped them up, painted them black, put a flashlight in there, and then connected a water gun with a hose.
Oh, that's awesome.
Out one of the spigots. And that was the first cosplay I remember making myself. But all through being a very, very young child, Batman and Robin. I had a 13-month younger brother. So we always had, Batman and Robin, Star Wars. We did our best with what we could have. But if I like everyone else, had the Chewbacca with the face of Chewbacca on, that and the plastic mask, So it was always around. But the first one I made, I was the Ghostbusters one. And then basically every Halloween there on, there was always a project to make a costume. It was a lot less bought off the rack from pretty much there on out. You.
Me. So Halloween is one of my favorite holidays. I just love dressing up. I love spooky, haunted, everything. And when I was a little girl, my mom made our Halloween costumes, myself and my cousins every year. So I have such fond memories of her, going through the effort to finding out what we wanted to be, or sometimes not asking us and just telling us that this is what we're going to be. And seeing her on the sewing machine and creating these costumes for us every year is such a fond memory. And that just kind of stuck with me. And it's something that I realized, your memories from when you're younger and all those precious moments really like take you forward into your adulthood. And as I grew up, I always wanted to make my own costumes. And we, before we met, we would always, each of us separately would have these big Halloween parties every year and dress up. And that just kind of evolved as we met and found this new love of Star Wars with the new episode 7, 8, and 9 coming out. We have, I mentioned our son, and he was really involved and loved, putting on the Disney costumes and the character. And that's how we got into costuming.
Yes.
Was with episode 7.
Pretty much. Yeah.
The Force Awakens. You made your first costume was Kylo Ren, and he learned how to sew, and he really put his effort into that.
Because she wouldn't help me.
But that was a lot of it was hand placing your things and hand stitching, which it's kind of hard to do.
But you also went to school for.
I did. So that I went to school for fashion merchandising and manufacturing and studied design. I really wanted to be a fashion designer when I was in high school, and it ended up, morphing more into the retail side of things. And you're a retailer.
And I'm a retailer. So
kind of had the professional background, not professional, but educational background. And then it really, I always loved the creative part of it. And since I went into the retail side, having the knowledge of design and manufacturing really kind of came through with making costumes.
But our first major debut of Star Wars costumes that we had made was Celebration 2017 in Orlando. So not that long ago. And we didn't, I grew up in New Orleans and South Carolina, so I knew of the 501st pretty much since the inception, or the other fan clubs as well. But we had not talked about becoming a member or anything. And most of the costumes were kind of hybrid at that point, off the rack and then done. But I had made the Kylo Ren, wore it to Celebration, and ran into some club people, and, they're like, well, if you want to take the next step, here's some of the things you can do and all that kind of stuff. And she had made a Padme evening dress from episode 2.
Fireside.
Yeah, Fireside Padme, I guess is what it's officially called. And, and so we were kind of into it at that point and really starting to think about getting a little bit more serious. And then, when we got home after that, it was almost like just game on. And then, come I guess about a year and a half later, I had bought 2 armor kits and really started making our first armor. And it was, for me, it was a First Order Stormtrooper, and for her, it was Captain Phasma. And so when she put on the armor for the first time, that was kind of like
It's such an empowering feeling. Like, I didn't really know to put on armor is different than putting on a soft costume.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's like you really get into it, I think, especially for my first costume.
Yeah.
Well, and really neat that Justin made it for you.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Very
Really
cool.
sweet. That was your second, because you did the first one.
Correct. Yeah.
But
But it
this
did
one
them kind of
involved-
simultaneously, and it involved a chroming
Cleaning,
process.
yeah.
And learned a lot. I mean, I look back at that costume, it looks like a trash can, but now, but then it was just amazing.
This is a lesson or some wisdom that I really want folks that are listening to this podcast to hear, is you got to start somewhere.
Sure.
That's right.
So it's so daunting to take that first step, because that first step, you know what? Your first armor isn't going to be great. But if you want to
Right.
get to that
Exactly.
great second armor, you got to do that not so great first armor. Just get it out of the way. People are so scared. And again, speaking from experience, I mean, I hadn't done cosplay for years because I just didn't want to take that first step.
Spoiler alert, there may be a panel at Celebration this year that's exactly that topic.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And of course, Obeon would tell us, we just took a step in a larger world. So there's that too that we have to look forward to.
Yeah, costuming is a evolving process. Like, you're always going to get better. There's always things to learn. There's always new processes to master, and there's always new outlets. Like, for us, we had been doing the movie accurate costumes for several years, but now with the Starcruiser, it's amazing because you can take those skills and those pieces and things from Star Wars, but it's so special to be able to make it your own and use your creativity to make your own Star Wars character. Like, that is the next level.
It's been so great.
Much fun.
Little did you know that fashion design experience would come in handy for dressing in space.
Yeah.
So, Justin, you talked a little bit about your first introduction to the 501st. How did you actually get involved?
So after the celebration in Orlando, we came home, started really working on refining the Kylo Ren costume, and I ended up buying an accurate fabric out of the UK and basically remaking it, but off the same patterns I had made the first one. And after I was done, I contacted our local garrison, went to the 501st.com website, found the how to join information, and set up my accounts and everything, and then contacted the local garrison, where I took pictures, front, back, sides, arms up, arms down, and submitted it. And they had a couple of little tweaks, and then right after that, it was ready to go, and I got approved with my first costume, I think in November of 2017. So very, within 7-8 months, I guess, after being in celebration.
And for anybody that doesn't know, tell us what the 501st does.
I'm embarrassed to admit, when Mike Forrester was talking to us, I had to go look it up. I still don't fully know, so I'm excited to hear.
No, this is great. All right, the 501st Legion is an international Star Wars fan group centered around movie-accurate costuming. So we were founded it's our 25th anniversary this year, and it all started when a man named Alvin Johnson, and I believe the other guy's name was Tom Cruise, not the Tom Cruise, wore armor to a premiere of, I think it was Empire Strikes Back in the special edition. I don't think they hit Star Wars. But yeah, the special edition of Empire Strikes Back. And they drew quite a crowd, and that it was just, he wanted movie accurate armor, and they had built at the time what was the best you could do. Candidly, those kits wouldn't even be approved these days, but they were at that point in time. And so they did this, and they did it in the next movie. And then, someone said, hey, I've got more stormtroopers. And then someone said, hey, I've got a Darth Vader costume. And someone said, hey, I've got a Boba Fett costume. And they realized the more people that they had in costume together, the more attention it drew. And then they found out there were other people in other countries doing the same thing. And all of it came together to become the 501st Legion. So it formed and, again, was kind of international very, very early on. And now there's garrisons literally or outposts around the world. I think the smallest one is Malta. Largest one is the German garrison. And that's 1,000 people down to a couple of people. Actually, I think the Indian outpost that's just starting is one person. So it literally can grow from 1 to 1,000 or more people in any given area. And our mission is, built around costuming, that we create as accurate of costumes as we possibly can. They're all judged against a costume reference library that's been compiled for each and every costume that we have. And, there's new ones added. I think we added 35 new costumes last year to our ranks. And I think they're in the 500 or 600 range of how many costumes there are in total. that you can get approved in the 501st Legion, do it.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that way, when people go to see the 501st, there's an expectation that they're going to look like movie accurate costumes. They're not just going to be random kind of things. So going through that approval process, I imagine, helps you make sure that you get a consistent product when people show up to those events.
The idea is that when you're standing 10 stormtroopers next to each other, that looks like they're all the same.
That's cool.
Yeah. And we do all of this and generate all this attention. And at some point in time, someone said, we could really do this for good and make it a charitable, an advocate for charities around the world. So we donned the phrase or the catchphrase, bad guys doing good. So most of what we do at this point in time is centered around gathering together and actually gaining donations for charity.
So what kind of charities do you normally work with?
Yeah, I mean, worldwide, we work with Make-A-Wish is one of the biggest ones that we work with. Starlight, who, does gowns for children that are in hospitals. We've done a lot of work with them. But pretty much everywhere around the country, from small libraries to schools to hospital visits. It's not always a monetary donation. Sometimes it's just our presence to make people smile, which is important. A couple of weeks ago, my day started one way and ended up rallying as many people as possible to talk about how we help everyone in Turkey when the earthquake happens. So it is daily, what's going on since we're a global organization, what's going on around the world? How can we raise support for different areas where something could pop up immediately, unfortunately?
Well, the 501st Legion is just the coolest name for the organization. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about the genesis of that name?
Oh, yeah. You ready? It's not as exciting as it may sound. Alvin wanted it to be cool. He wanted like this cool name, and I think they went through a couple of like the 306 or I mean those 3-digit numbers were kind of a thing. And how about the 501st? I may have been something like the Fighting 501st or something. I forget. But Vader's Fist is what it became fairly quickly. But that was really it. It was just about how to have kind of a cool sounding number name. There was a lot. There was some assumptions, and obviously in some of the books, that the military and the Empire was organized similarly to ours, and so we have garrisons and outposts and units and stuff like that. And we're trying to get a little bit away from more of the military upbringing of it, but it is that way now. And it was since the beginning, but that was really it. And Alvin wanted to have a cool numeric name, so 501st it was. But that name was founded by Alvin, and then there was this amazing Rose Bowl parade where the 501st kind of became the official 501st when Lucasfilm recognized us as such and took the name on and obviously used it in the films. Anakin's group of clone troopers was the 501st, and that it is in that order. We came first, and they adopted it as a massive tribute. And there's little hints of 501st all through Star Wars, including on Maz Kanata's castle. Our logo is like, it's on the castle.
I love the fact that this force for good actually became co-opted within the canon itself. I mean,
that's crazy.
That really is just the coolest little nod and gratitude to your group for what you do.
Definitely in recognition of the stuff and the good that the organization does for other people. That's pretty cool.
There's just some amazing makers
Really
of
amazing
costumes, and one of our favorite makers is someone. I mean, this is the worldwide thing. Is someone out of the Dutch garrison, and they made this incredible Zam bounty hunter from Attack of the Clones, and didn't want it anymore, and we're like, we'll take it, And so it fit Naomi, and she just got approved this week.
You mentioned the approval process. What is that approval process?
The LMO office, which is the Legion membership office, and or a member come up with the idea to make a costume. So let's take an example of there's a Sith Eternal officer. So that is the officers that were on the Sith Star Destroyers in Rise of Skywalker. It's obviously a bad guy. So, that's the easy vote. But it will eventually, so that it's voted whether or not the costume qualifies by the Legion membership office. Once a solicitation by the detachments is made that, should we be making this costume or not? That's an easy pass. So they say, yes, this costume is eligible to be made. Then it takes a member somewhere to, say, I actually want to make this costume. So when a member decides to make the costume, they gather as many references as they possibly can. And then in a costume like that, they're only seen in like 2 scenes. So it's about finding as much behind the scenes footage, anything in books, sometimes even an action figure or a toy, because some of them get full references, but it's preferable to have pictures and stuff. And the person goes to work on making the costume. Subsequently, all of it's written down. The builds are cataloged and everything. And the end result is a costume. It's the CRL, so costume reference library is what it is, the collection of all of them. But the CRL has pictures and text on every piece and how it should be made to the standard to be accepted into the 501st Legion. And once that happens, it kind of becomes the gospel of that costume. And over time, if more references present themselves, they can change. And anybody that made it before, most of the time is grandfathered in. But that's how it happens. We cover in the 501st Legion, we cover all of the bad guys and nefarious characters that live out there. Anybody that lives kind of in the gray. So if they're morally ambiguous, they may be a candidate for the 501st. But there's other fan groups that cover other characters, and the biggest ones are the Rebel Legion. Obviously, carry the good guys, and we overlap on some of that underworld. They're fringe. They call it fringe in the Rebel Legion. And then there's the Mando Mercs. The Mando Mercs are the Mandalorians, and they're obviously having their moment in the last couple of years.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. But we have some crossover with them as well. Then you've got Saber Guild, who has some crossover with both groups, because if you're a Sith Lord that carries a lightsaber or a Rebel that carries a lightsaber, you could be eligible for Saber Guild, and it's really a performance group. So they do all those amazing lightsaber shows that you can see. I mean, it's really neat stuff.
Jedi training.
Jedi training. They do some of the Jedi training that like what Disney does. Then you got droid builders. Droid builders is just as you expect, and as long as you've built, it's less organized from like a membership perspective. Bottom line is, if you built a droid, you're pretty much eligible to not necessarily the one at Betu, but another droid. You're eligible to be that, or if you happen to perform a droid, which is how I'm a member of the droid builders, because I happen to perform droids. And then there's Galactic Academy. Galactic Academy is for all the kids. So in that, it's kind of meant to be a feeder into the larger clubs once you graduate 18. But Galactic Academy, any kid can join with any costume.
Any costume. It could be a Disney costume.
It could be bought from a store. It could be anything.
It's really just to, get the kids excited and involved also.
So even that plastic Chewbacca mask would qualify for
Yes.
a kid.
That would 100% qualify.
That's cool.
Absolutely.
We all started with the Ben Cooper plastic mask.
Oh,
that
yes.
Ben Cooper mask.
Yep.
The whole outfit, amazing.
I just love how all of these guilds and groups and organizations just push the craft.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, truly, they're the ones just unthinkable stuff for just regular people to be doing, 15, 20 years ago. They're accomplishing screen accurate stuff by themselves. That's just astounding how they could just keep moving the line.
It's one of the neatest migrations to watch is, so we had bought a 3D printer and, we were kind of already into it. But, I became a member of the CR10, which is a Creality printer that most people start out with. And I had become a member of the Facebook group there. And for years, it's, this kind of problem, that kind of problem, whatever. And then right after The Mandalorian came out, everybody started 3D printing props and everybody wanted to print that helmet. And it was like the entire Creality help group on Facebook became the, how do I print a Mandalorian helmet? And you can see, like, again, you're talking about fandoms or people that are using that to print, gaskets of things for their lawnmower, whatever. Then all of a sudden it just was taken over by people trying to print a Mandalorian helmet. So you did see this very, strong change of pushing the craft forward and really 3D printing starting to get its day. And, these kits, you'd buy them over the internet or you'd buy them off of, boards and whatnot. And it would be months, years before you actually saw it at your doorstep. now you can literally download a file and make it in your house.
It's crazy. I just last night, I'm a Prusa man myself, but I've invested in the
Right?
Sovol line now because they're bigger and I can,
Yep.
and I'm doing it because I want to do it for my costume on the May voyage. And just last night, someone was on doing a live stream of the new Sovol that's going to be a large scale printer. And he's like, okay, no, I'm not doing a Mando helmet. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it. He's just growing up. And he's, I'm not doing a Mando. No, man. So it's funny to see exactly what you're talking about.
On the next time we're going on the Starcruiser, we're going to be Mandalorians, and we just printed our first Mandalorian helmets after all these years. So it's kind of interesting. But now we're Mandalorians.
Yeah, and in the old days, they had to do them vacuum form. I mean, they
Oh,
had.
yeah.
Vacuum forming was really the first official thing. Early on, the tutorials that were out there were actually how to make the bucks to sculpt the bucks that you would make for vacuum forming, how to vacuum form, and then some people got industrious and started selling the kits themselves. But I remember, I saw my first Stormtrooper armor online probably in the 1999. It was before 2000 for sure. And how do you do this? And like you go through this. Oh, you got to actually sculpt this and mold this and then dry it and then buy a table that's going to vacuum form and then melt plastic. No.
We have a maker in our garrison that has a vacuum because he has been part of the 501st for a very long time. He has so many costumes. And one of the things that I love about Star Wars costuming is that it's a group, that really comes together and really wants to help each other out. You can go on there and ask, I need help with this. What do you recommend for that? And you're all trying to help each other, get this accomplished, whether it's to submit or not, really. It's just a place for everyone building to come together and kind of do it together and have this, sense of kinship and helpfulness where people that have had more experience can help newer members. You don't have to be a member. You can just, reach out and say to your garrison if you're looking to join and say, do you have an armory? They might need a little help.
No one enters the 501st alone, I guess is the easiest way to say it. There's always someone for you to meet. And once you become a member, you literally have a family across the world. I was in Paris a couple of weeks ago, and I just put a little note out saying, hey, I'm here. Any 501st folks want to come? And I had drinks and dinner with two members of the 501st who I'd never met in person before, would never have met before. And then celebration becomes, we've all talked to each other. We all know who each other are. And now you get to meet each other and hang out with each other. And it's just instant family. And it's really, and that's, really amongst all of the fan clubs. And whether they're costuming fan club or not, the Star Wars community, and you guys are part of it as well,
with Starcruiser. It's similar it's sense of feeling of family, of having appreciation for something that's like special and kind of bigger than yourself that you appreciate.
But the Star Wars community has just been growing like crazy, and it's thanks to you guys and thanks to all the podcasts and stuff we mentioned before, and then the fan clubs all kind of just keeping it going.
Yeah, it's been amazing. That's the one thing that has come out of us doing this podcast that we didn't realize and are so grateful for is just the people we've been able to meet.
Unbelievable. Exploding with creativity and generosity and just welcoming.
Yeah, super nice people, really intelligent to talk to, really fun. And Mike Celestino, too, so that's good. Just kidding, Mike. Just kidding.
Love you, Mike.
Mike was on our cruise.
The Lotico cruise.
Lotico. I helped Lotico many times. I remember after the grand finale going up to him and saying, who are you? What and he starts speaking in his regular voice. He had used a different voice the whole time, like the Sean Connery voice.
What?
And I'm like, what is going on here? So completely bought into this character, and you're not even that character. So it was great meeting those guys so much on that trip.
Well, this has actually been recorded, and you can check it out in his web series Antiquities. It's a 5-part web series with his character Lotico Fendon, and it's sensational.
So Naomi, as a travel advisor with Magic Family Getaways, what were your thoughts when you first started hearing about the Galactic Starcruiser?
I was thrilled. I mean, it just sounded like such an amazing experience, and it opened. And lo and behold, It was amazing. And it is amazing.
Your thoughts were
and-
correct. It was amazing. Yeah.
Right. So
But she had just started
I
really
literally
at that
just
at that
started.
time.
Like right before they announced the dates for pre-booking
Okay.
is when I started. So I had, it was a learning curve for sure.
I think there's still a misconception about travel agency. I mean, you don't charge for that service. Is that right?
All our services are complimentary to the client, and then Disney pays the agency commission, and that's how we do get paid, but it's not passed on to the client at all. So if you were to, call in yourself to the Starcruiser or go onto the Walt Disney World website and look up a price, that's the same price that I'm going to give you. It's not loaded into anything, and you just get the expertise and all the planning advice, all the reminders, all the dining recommendations for the Starcruiser. It's, not just, oh, this is your window for booking activities. I'll call in for you.
So if you were thinking out there in podcast land that you'd have to spend a lot of money, for the most part, just call your travel agent, call Naomi at Magic Family Getaways or whoever else you want to talk to, and it's a great way to book the trip.
It's still exciting to go on a Walt Disney World or Disneyland or any, trip. But with Starcruiser, there's such a sense of community leading up to the actual voyage that has developed. There's an excitement for the costuming piece of it that you get to add in. There's so much more levels of excitement building up to the actual voyage. And then being there and being with like-minded people and meeting new people, you have a sense of community afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Which that's not a typical vacation for people.
No.
It's not a typical experience.
No.
Definitely
And
not.
it's really, truly special. It's really special.
So let's get on the Halcyon itself. When was your first voyage?
Our first voyage was March 17th. And we were super excited. Super excited. As soon as we came off, we loved it so much that we booked a second.
We know the
when those-
feeling.
Yes. So we booked for New Year's. So it was the 12:30 voyage. And then we decided to do the 5-3 voyage because it's May the 4th. And it's such an wonderful experience to do it with friends and you guys and Sarah and Dano and,
Like
just
100 other people.
100
So
other
many
Yeah.
people. It's going to be so great.
It's
Yeah.
going to be such a good time. And to be able to I had clients go on the first May the 4th voyage, which boarding was on May the 4th. So this trip is special because we all get to be in Batu for May the 4th. So that's extra special. I'm very excited about that. And then we all will be on another trip.
We'll talk about that later.
Well, so that's interesting.
I think you jumped like 6 questions
Yeah.
there.
No, it's great.
We're good.
It's
We're fine.
fabulous.
We're totally fine.
But let's just talk about something that everyone loves to just dish on is, what were your first impressions when you went on board the Halcyon?
Oh my gosh. It was really mind blowing and also very overwhelming. When you walk out of that transport and you just see the atrium for the first time and you walk in, it's really just so unbelievable. And
I think I'm 50. I was 49 the first time I went. And I think your mind plays a little trick. I mean, so here's the fun part. Like I go back to some of that negative press, you're in a box car that's an escape pod, or you're in an elevator that's whatever.
Right.
I mean, the second, I think 2 seconds into the safety video, I'm like, holy crap, I'm going on a spaceship.
Yep.
Yep. And so you get into the pod, and I mean, there's magic here, it's you're not going into space, but I felt like I was not in Florida anymore, and definitely not in a parking lot behind Hollywood Studios. And you do look around and you're trying to take it all in, and they usher you to your cabin and start showing you kind of the things. and then you have the food for the first time, which is so good. I mean, I want that grilled cheese right now.
Right?
You know,
Yeah.
right now. But yes, it's I did not feel like I was on Earth anymore for real as an adult.
We've actually said that before in an earlier episode. Is what's strange is that feeling endures.
Yes.
That right now we talk about Galactic Starcruiser every single day, all day long, and I do not think of it as a building. I don't think about it as just an installation
No.
outside of studios in Florida. It is the Halcyon to me.
Yeah.
And it's just odd that suspension of disbelief can endure in a rational thinking adult.
Yeah.
Right.
it's
I
like-
mean,
it's-
I will tell you, first of all, we were with a friend that had a gig and had to, who's local, and had to leave and come back, like, at nighttime, and then come back. And there was one of them, wait, how are you going to get down? I mean, like, how are you gonna get back? And I caught myself saying that. I was like, it's not a thing. But I said to someone when I came back, I said, I'm a fairly sane person, I think. And there was a moment, and maybe y'all shared the moment, where I was like, are we going to die? And it probably lasted a quarter of a second, but it felt like 5 or 6 seconds. But I'm like, I mean, I've seen the movies. I know when these words are uttered, I know what it means. Are we? What's about to happen here?
Yep.
And I walked away, and that was the one I keep telling everybody about. It's like, I literally, for however fleeting of a second, was like, wait, what's going on here?
And Wani, I cannot.
Oh, yeah.
My
my
mind
gosh.
cannot reconcile when I'm in front of Wani that there's a performer in that.
Correct.
My
Totally.
mind cannot reconcile where does a person fit into this and have it do that. I'm talking to a Rhodian, plain and simple.
100%.
Yeah.
Not for once, and I saw somebody said so, and they were doing some meet the character videos, and I don't know why I did this, but I went through and started reading some of the comments, and they're like, "You think for that kind of price, her lips would move?" And I was like, "Her lips move. She talks to you.
Yeah.
Like, she's talking to you, and every step of the way." And to your point, and we see a lot of cosplay. We see a lot of really good costuming, and that is just next level.
It is
To your
really
point,
next level.
you're not talking to someone in a costume. You are talking to that character.
Completely.
And that's one of the things that I think the haters that we refer to frequently on the podcast, not to give them more airspace, but it's just they just see the price and they don't realize that a part of what you're paying for is that experience that you can't
Yes.
get anywhere
The
else.
innovation.
Yeah,
I mean,
and-
innovation's expensive.
And the immersion and the fact that when you're there, you, again, to your point, forget that it's a parking lot behind Hollywood Studios. It's
I
amazing.
tell you, I have not read any review in any place of someone that has gone that said it was
Was
a
not worth
ripoff.
Yeah.
Right.
No one has said
No
it's
one.
not worth it.
Right.
Not one person. And it is very expensive.
Sure, sure.
As a business person, I say, they need to figure this out because more people need to be able to do this. Look, we're all the early adopters, and
Right,
we're
right.
if over time we paid the premium for it to open up, that I'm okay with that, fine. But it's got to be seen to believe,
Yeah.
and until you do it, you don't know. It is very, very expensive, but not 1 second have I regretted a dime I've spent on the Starcruiser.
Absolutely.
That's
No.
it. I mean, I will be the lawyer in Jurassic Park, and we can have a coupon day.
Right.
I mean, but it's worth every penny.
Well, and without going
Yeah.
into the specifics and the economics, but as a business person, you have to know, Justin, they have a plan. They
Yes.
didn't build this saying we're going to pack this thing to the gills for
No.
the rest of
Right.
time. Clearly they know there's a capacity that they need to make money, and who knows if they're at that capacity. We sure hope they are, but you know that they're working towards some sort of sustainable.
I mean, there's
part.
definitely an overhead threshold to
Yeah.
running a show every time, and how many guests they need to have to do that. And look, I think they're figuring it out.
Yeah.
I think that the initial demand probably met expectations. I'm a retailer. And the little secret I'll tell you is we can always bring the price down. Bringing it up is hard.
Mhm.
So when you launch something at the price you think the customer is really going to be excited about it. and you still make money. And if you can still afford to be a lower price, you eventually you'll get there if you need to. If not, you realize that maybe we undershot it. But
right.
no, we do this a lot. When someone will say, you spent this much money on this, I said, listen, we're in a very fortunate place that we can actually consider that as an option. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
But the other part of it is different people have different things that they are willing to do with their disposable income. And I am not a huge sports fan, but when you look at the stadium for the Super Bowl, it's a heck of a lot more expensive than a Starcruiser to go watch the Super Bowl for a single ticket. That's a couple hours.
Yep.
Right.
So if you go to the per ticket price, so let's pick your fandom, enjoy your fandom.
Yes.
Don't care about what anybody else says about your enjoyment of your fandom. And, the shame on them if they're never going to attempt to try to be able to, get somewhere with this, because it is a life-altering experience.
Well, you mentioned that, you went in relatively spoiler-free for your first voyage. And I'd say we, for the most part, did too.
Yeah.
I mean, there was that incredibly relieving moment that we, the three of us were clustered around Drew's couch in his loft, watching those early reviews from Ordinary Adventures, Peter and Kitcher, and then the Disney food blog, AJ.
Yep.
And we just wanted to see just enough. Did they deliver the goods? And that wave of relief of all of us was where we were just entranced by these Ordinary Adventures and Disney food blog videos of what we were about to experience. Like, we were edge of the seat.
We were.
Yeah.
We paid for the whole thing, but we only needed the edge.
True.
It's funny because those 2 weeks of time were actually some of our hardest, because they went obviously on the press preview. Peter and Kitcher specifically went on the press preview, then the first voyage, and that's our weekly thing. Like, Peter always believe. These are some of them were friends, some we'd not met Peter and Kitcher yet. But all of these folks that were going, we watch their vlogs every week. It's part of what gets us through the week. And through pandemic, it was to see people that were living their Disney lives that we had watched before, and my son did a Black Kyber Crystal challenge before we'd never met Peter and Kitcher before, and realized, but our kid literally did that just like they did it, during the first, so it was hard those 2 weeks not watching anything, because we didn't want to watch anybody's, we didn't want to watch any angles or anything.
Sure.
And then after we got back, we went and we watched them, and there were a couple that was like, hold on, wait, we know we're going again, because we pretty much booked immediately, and we're going to do a different path. And I don't want to see the Jedi path.
Right,
I want to see, so if I knew it was going Jedi way, we stopped watching. If I knew it was going First Order way, we stopped watching. So there are parts of Peter and Kitcher's original video. Now I've watched most of it, but there was one where they were going First Order, and I have not watched it yet.
Okay.
Because that's what we're going to do next time.
Nice.
So that's interesting. What paths did you both take the first voyage?
First voyage, we did Smuggler, and we just loved it.
So, cool. I mean, I'm a Han Solo guy. So, when people grew up with Star Wars, like perfect age, like some of us are, I think there was some people were Darth Vader people, some people were Luke people. I was always a Han Solo person. I mean, if you look behind, there's 2 Raiders hats.
Nice.
It's anything Harrison Ford's touched. That's my jam. So we've always been kind of the smuggler mentality. We love Solo. I guess so. It's behind us. She's made the Kira costumes. I've made the Han costumes. So it was no question going to be Smuggler the first time.
We also think it's funny because, the different cast, that first voyage, you become very attached to your cast. Yes. Like, we are very attached to our Wraith and our Sammy. And it's, it's so interesting to see.
Our Wraith was, so in the second voyage, our Wraith, who we became very close to over the course of the voyage, and I will still argue is the best Wraith, but no offense to any other Wraiths out there. But on the second voyage, there was a point in time when we saw that they were going to be Wraith again. It's like, oh, crap.
It was such FOMO. I didn't know we've done that.
FOMO.
Yeah. And I was like, it was so hard.
And then Wraith sees us at dinner for the first time, because we'd kind of been, working on our other path. And oh my God. It was like, I don't know who you're talking about. We have 2 twins though that happened. It's a weird thing, but we married our twins.
Oh, that's great.
And he's like, oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. And he's like, well, tell them, So we played that out the whole time, but there were points in time that and he's like, I want to help rape out.
I know.
Sure. Well, your second voyage, were you worried that it wouldn't be the same? And how was it, that second voyage for you guys?
For me, it was
Better.
better.
Yeah.
Because, trying to stay spoiler free and then also being a travel agent and trying to service my clients
Right.
was a challenge because I didn't want to give, it was so new and I didn't want to give them too much. Some clients want to know everything. So it was a balance of making sure that I was giving like the appropriate amount of information, but not spoiling it for anyone that didn't want it
Sure.
or myself. But once we went on the second one, all the things that we had experienced on the first time, there were lots of things that we, missed because there's just so much to do.
Yeah.
There's really no way.
We didn't have any overlap. We had 0 overlap.
Wow.
Overlap.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a hard
Like-
thing to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We really
You had one thing.
I
Like
had
one thing.
but only I had it. He
Yeah.
didn't have it. And it was different. The experience was different because, the cast that were playing those roles were different. So they all do it and you're with different people. And he didn't go with me. So I was, doing that mission with a friend that a friend's daughter that we had met on the voyage. So that was special to it was her first time to share that with someone. And, it was just,
I don't want to say
amazing.
I wasn't excited to go, but obviously the build up to go on the first one was just so huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't. I mean, and we put just as much effort in. We both made 5 costumes each on each of the trips thus far. So the effort was there and everything. But I can't say I was like, oh my God, I'm going on Starcruiser again. So I in my mind, and for a period of time, we weren't sure we were going to keep the reservation, because May 3rd come up and it's 3 times is a lot.
Well, I knew I wanted to. You were like, well, do we really need to? I'm like, it's New Year's.
It's New Year's and it's going to be, yeah.
Year's.
And I will tell you, first of all, the second time, all of the micro learning curves,
Mhm.
like the data pad, when to scan things, when
Yep.
not to scan things, that's all inherent now.
Yep.
So you now know what to do. So all of a sudden, I think you gain hours back,
Yes.
Oh, that's a great
Really?
way to put it.
That's
Yeah.
Hours.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And as we all know, they're not a ton of hours. So when you say that you got all these hours back of, I know when I got to go do this. I know how to open the jail. I know, all that kind of stuff. You really gain some more time. So scheduling for us was much, much, much better. We didn't miss some of the core things that we thought we would,
Thought we would do the first
the
time.
runway thing
Yeah.
before dinner. We missed that the first time because she had this hairpiece that was a little tough to manage.
He was so upset at me.
But anyway, so with that, with the fact that we were able to stay spoiler free for the Jedi path, and there are a couple of major things that happen on that path that are different. And we were asked on the first cruise if we wanted to sneak into one of those, and we decided we didn't. So we had a completely different experience. For me, it was much better. And also based on the next one with so many people going on with us, I'm very curious on how this one's going to be because
Yes.
we all are going to be playing with each other. Everyone's going to want to stay in their character. We're all going it's going to be a party and a half in many, many, many ways, but also we all know that we have missions to do.
Right.
Yeah.
We have things that we have to get accomplished because we want to all end up at the right place at the end.
But for me, that was part of the reason why it was so important for us to go on the 1230 voyage, because there were things that we had missed from March and that I had missed, and I just wanted to experience them. There were new things that were added over the summer that I just wanted to try. And I knew that going on the May 3rd one, that one was going to be a even different experience because of everyone being there and, and the level of the added piece of May the 4th being in Batu.
I don't know how we're going to get all of our stuff done on Batu because there's so many more people coming to the park on May 4th.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
What's something that's going to be interesting about the May cruise is that almost everyone going on this is like a Starcruiser superfan expert.
Right.
I almost feel bad for the couple people that are going to be on this cruise.
Right.
They're just like randomly there that time.
I will
All
tell you
of
the other
this.
thing though that was so New Year's also we wanted to see what it was going to be like on New Year's and they did not disappoint. We did have a New Year's celebration. It was great, or a solar cycle celebration. But
Just think of every guest having a noisemaker in the atrium.
it was
Pretty loud.
pretty loud. But it was great. It was great. But I was very surprised with how many people it was their second voyage.
Mhm.
It was a lot of people on ours it was their second voyage.
Yeah,
So.
and that's just 9 months later.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I don't know what Disney thought, again, it's expensive. It's expensive for everybody. I don't care what kind of
Right.
income you have. It's
Right.
just expensive. And the fact that, it was dozens of people we met that were on their second voyage. So I don't know if they factored that repeatability into it, but the super fan is a super fan.
And every single one of those people, just like us, really went into that first voyage saying this is a once in a lifetime thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
They
Same.
did, and they meant it.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
minute they were off, they were like, that's going to happen again.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
that's wild.
It is
Yeah.
wild.
It is wild. And the emotion that I felt, like when we got back to the hotel, I'm going to get emotional thinking about it. He was actually better. I was in tears in the lobby, standing there.
Yeah.
Like happy but sad. Like so grateful.
It's a lot.
That I am going to get emotional. So grateful that you get to experience this. That's unlike anything you've done before. And to really, what you can't really express to people is that, like, as adults, we don't have many opportunities to forget that we're in everyday life and use our imagination and make believe, right? That doesn't happen. And us as costumers, you would think that, at least I thought that I would probably be more prepared because I do dress up in a costume and pretend that I'm a Star Wars character for the enjoyment of, fans and kids and whoever, that it would be like an easier transition and understanding. But to actually like live that is much different emotionally to
Yes.
come out of than you would expect. And it's crazy that so many other, like that's very common. And I think you've had Jen Catania on talking about the post drop and how it relates to her LARPing experience. And we have a Facebook group together to address that because she has so much LARPing experience. And she asked me, she's like, were you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I was fine. But you would think again that with our experience, I would be, but I still wasn't. I still had all those feelings.
You get to let go of everyday stuff for like almost 2 days.
And you feel like a child, like to have that wonder and like,
No, you got to let
excitement
yourself
about
do
something.
that.
Yeah, you do have to be open to
I don't mean to
letting that
diss,
happen.
but I call it Under Armour guy that goes on the cruise, and it's just literally checking their phone. And I don't know why they spent the money to be there,
Right.
but they did, and good for them. And that's, again, not to be critical, but it's like if you didn't let yourself do it, then you're missing out.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's, like you said, Naomi, we've talked before with Jen, and then we talked amongst ourselves too that, after that first voyage, we had no idea that that's what we were going to be hit with,
No.
for
Right.
after
Completely
the first
unprepared.
voyage.
Completely unprepared.
Completely unprepared.
We were normal people before Galactic Starcruiser.
Right.
Well, you
Right.
were normal. I don't know about Christine and I, but yeah.
But it was, the first voyage, and once you kind of go through that emotional roller coaster after you get back, where even now, if we talked about certain pieces of it,
Oh yeah.
I'd be a hot
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah.
And so whenever we went on the second voyage, I was like, okay, well, I'm anticipating that it's going to be similar, maybe not as hard, but it's going to be similar. And it actually did exactly the opposite. It was
Yeah.
so much harder.
Yeah, I I totally understand, Christine. And going through it that second time, we luckily we were with Patty, so that helped a little bit. We were with a friend who it was her first voyage, and so I was able to kind of take that emotional part and just kind of maybe have her be my sponge to soak some of that up for me. So thanks, Patty, for being that. But yeah,
The sole reason why leaving the second time wasn't as hard for me was because we had already had 3 books.
yeah, we'd booked third.
Yeah.
And I
think that's the same for us too.
Yeah.
I instantly transferred all that emotion, all the energy, all that passion, and I was already thinking about Starcruiser 3 walking out of Starcruiser 2.
Yeah.
But this, what other thing on the world does this?
Sure.
Like it turns
Nothing
us
yet.
we all get this way.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, some people call Heroes of the Halcyon a Starcruiser withdrawal support group. I mean,
We do, for sure.
It is. It really
we
is.
all do.
And the hardest part for me was, what do you mean I can't just walk to the kitchen and get blue milk anymore? You know,
On
I
tap.
have to pay for this now.
On
going on?
tap.
So how did that come up with Jen? Did you guys discuss about making that post-drop Facebook group?
501st Rebel
Yes.
Legion.
Okay.
Jen is a member and was leadership in the New England garrison.
Okay.
And so we had met
We've
Jen.
known her for ages.
We had met her at trooping together, and then there's different Disney nights, and then it's celebrations. So this Star Wars community thing, it runs deep. So once this all came around, it was kind of like the next natural thing.
Yeah. And so we were talking about after she got off of her voyage, and, we were just talking about how, I was just as friends about, and, like how unprepared I was. So, this was a great way. We were like, she put out some videos about how to cope after. And I said, we should really, make a group for people because you have so much experience, and, just both of us doing it, it's really a great place to have a sense of community. And we can't be the only ones that feel this.
I didn't get. I mean, she got more emotional about it. I don't get that emotional
No,
about
you don't.
things. So that's like
Harrison Ford.
yes,
and
like
Indiana
yeah,
Jones.
that's going to be a problem. So there's that. But and we already had to
More
live.
tears
We already
for-
had to live.
for
Yeah,
that
we've
than,
already had to live through this in the recent Star Wars movies. So yes, this is going to be tough. But I think that this one's going to be the killer, because we've all made all these friendships, and there's like
Gosh.
7 or 8 or 9 or more different circles that are coming together on this thing.
That
Right.
didn't even
And
occur to me.
Right.
It's going to be the worst.
This
Like
is
we have
Woodstock.
friends from the
It's
501st
Woodstock,
and
yeah.
that our costuming groups that are friends and, that watch Thank the Maker, watch Dano, they watch, but
Mhm.
we haven't, they all interacting in the Facebooks, like Sarah and Dano's Facebook groups. Everybody's interacting with each other,
Right.
but we haven't all actually
Yeah.
necessarily gotten together. And we personally haven't traveled with the friends that are
Yeah.
coming on the Starcruiser. So it's exciting because it's going to be their second and third voyage, and it'll be our third voyage. So it's going to be, and we're going to get to meet, you guys, like new people
Mhm.
that have come into our lives in real life.
Yep.
So it's going to be crazy.
It's yeah. So this one's going to be. I think this is going to be the hard. And I'll tell you that the Star Wars Celebration is the key moment typically for a Star Wars fan. It's going to be amazing. I'm not going to discount the fact that the celebration is going to be incredible. I'm not thinking about celebration as much as I'm thinking about this.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And
we actually haven't picked out our costumes for celebration, but he has our costumes
All made.
for the Starcruiser.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
He's like
That's
on
great.
it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That day after. Whoa.
Like,
Yeah.
it's going to
That's
suck.
gonna
It's
be
gonna
Yeah.
that's gonna be a train
hard.
wreck of emotion.
Yeah,
right
they're gonna have a
there.
hard
Yeah.
time even getting us off. They're
Well,
gonna
that's,
be like, yeah, I
well, that's
know.
what I
but-
was thinking.
Yeah.
Is like,
Go.
yeah.
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go viral and just handcuff ourselves to the seriously. What are they going to do if we all do it?
Yeah, right.
Exactly. They
Right?
can't move us all.
So I think it's time to get into spoiler territory. So for folks who don't like spoilers, you might not want to listen to the rest of this or watch the rest of this if you're watching on YouTube. But let's go ahead and go spoilers heavy now. Justin, Naomi, what were your favorite moments from any of your voyages?
Wow, this is hard. I'm gonna pick one that I think you might pick the other one.
Okay.
So I'll stay away from your territory. Mike Celestino. So our heist. We can talk about anything, I assume.
Spoilers
Yep.
hot.
Okay.
Yep.
So our heist, Lodico was the one that did the heist, the person that and held it and got it out, got the Hyaminea out to our meeting point. And Lodico had this head apparatus that was, it was just goggles, but multiple goggles, almost like a dentist that would have multiple
really
things that would go. Yeah. And, we were part of the distraction, so we didn't get to see the heist itself. So didn't know what was in his, didn't know everything. And he pulls it out and our Wraith says, can you verify it's the general article? And he takes his specs and puts them down and all the specs and everything.
So
it has a light, pulls out a light, and he's looking at it like this. I'm like, this has got to be staged. He's got to be a part of it. And but he some reason or another, there was a lot of emotion with Gaia and how she was talking about the stone and everything. And that one, it was less lighthearted, more really about freeing, the people and all and Ryloth and everything. And he gets out on one knee to hand it to her. And she, Gaia, I think, but there, there's a couple parts I watched the video back. Wraith had to do like this when he pulled the glasses down because it was just too perfect.
Yeah.
It was just
so
had to,
good.
But it was very emotional, and Gaia hugs him, and I had seen Danos in their group, with their Wraith, and it was kind of like a celebration and whatnot, which is great. We pulled it off, yay, and biggest fan and everything. But this was like, you've saved our world kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it was very, very, very good. And that I would say that was my favorite moment thus far.
That's awesome.
I think I know what you're going to say, but I hope.
You think I know what I'm going to say?
Yeah, if not, I'm going to have to go too.
My favorite moment was the proposal. In the
really?
museum.
Oh, that's very sweet, honey.
Because it was so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh,
To have to be in charge of the distraction. P.S. We did mess up the timing.
we did.
Totally.
It's in Lodico's video.
That's great.
Yeah, we messed up the timing. But to do that and we came up with that. And then people really thought he was proposing to me. It's that much. And it was just a fun thing. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm getting proposed to. And then people were congratulating us.
Oh, that's great.
Just
They thought it was real.
They thought it was real.
Yeah.
They thought that was really happening.
They'd have no reason
And-
not to think it was
right,
real.
you have no reason not to. And then we messed up the timing. So then we had our friends. We were like, you guys do it too. That was a very fun.
That's a good one.
I mean, you didn't think it would be?
No, I know. I thought you were going to say the Jedi thing.
Oh, okay. Well, that can be our next.
Well,
I
now
know.
you
We'll share
got to
this
say
one.
the
We'll share
Jedi
this
thing.
one.
Yeah, right.
So this is an experience I don't think happens. It doesn't happen to many people, So there's obviously the holocron reveal that a number of people do see, but working directly with the Sajas and the climate simulator, not everybody gets to see the rocks float, and
it's harder. That path is less interactive in the data pad, whereas with the
you got
smuggler
to
path,
seek it.
you are interacting with Wraith and Gaia and the characters, and same with Resistance. It's data pad, comms, interactive, but also people, with the characters.
Yeah.
For the Jedi path, it's very limited in the comms. You have to seek them out. You have to go find them. You have to have conversations with the Saja. It's really on you. So it's less interactive in one way, but more interactive personally. So we got to, get close with the Saja
real quick backstory. Our backstory for our Jedi path was that we were both former Jedi. Timing wise, we were after the purge, Order 66, and that we had been instructors in Luke's temple, but we had left. And so when it burnt down, we just went away. So
We weren't there.
We weren't there. And we have had a child obviously in that period of time, and don't know his force sensitivity yet. So we had this whole story that we missed the temple burning down. We had heard that there was Jedi aligning on Batuu, that there was a resistance base forming on Batuu, and that we wanted to find whatever transport we could to get to Batuu. And this was why we booked on this. And so finding the Saja, we were like, we have something we need to tell you. We were force sensitive. We're training with Master Luke before he passed, blah, blah, blah. And, but we want to test our son.
Oh,
and
that's
so
cool.
It was all
cool.
set up.
Yeah.
And, so Jack was built. Jack, the second we got on board, really liked the idea of winning the rock stacking contest. And so the Saja that we had that had really was kind of trying to educate the 9-year-old that wants to go all over the place. Yeah. Pulls him in and says, I really want, he was just stacking rocks, and I think they had fallen, and so she starts really reeling him into thinking about it and everything. And he reaches out, and he's never seen the spoiler, so he does not know what's happening. And the rocks start moving. And, you see him giggle and stuff. And then she calls the two of us over, put our hands on his shoulder, and let him try again. And he pulls the rock towards him. And I think it scared the crap out of him.
I bet.
We were just like, and he looks at, and we're like, what do you think? He's like, I'm just an engineer, because he was doing Sammy's path the whole time. And then he walks out.
Oh, wow.
But it was so
super
cool.
emotional.
Yeah.
And then
I just got goosebumps.
Another point to that, to being so immersed, when she asked us to put our hands on him to help fuel the force and send the force through him, you knew I actually closed my eyes and felt the force.
Absolutely.
So I didn't see any of it. I had to go back and watch because
wow. Yeah.
I was really so immersed. I was like, no, I'm really going to give him the force, and I'm going to close my eyes.
Yeah.
Not having the wherewithal that you did to be like, no, I'm going to film this. This is what's going to happen at the next point. And I was just so in it.
Avoided spoilers. I've never seen it. I just knew that it could happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to get into a position where, we wanted to test our son,
Mm-hmm.
and then seeing it. I mean, first of all, great tech, really seamless tech about how they make it happen. And I remember, Forrester and those guys talking about the first time that they were they'd gone out to hang out in the climate simulator, and it was happening to someone else. And it was another one of those, are we going to die moments, but different, wait, what did I just watch happen? Because you're not expecting it. You hadn't seen anything about it before. Right. And again, it's not one of those moments that is going to happen to a lot of people. We were the only ones out there, and it is not a short moment.
The Saja performer, they've got their patter. They kind of set up the moment. But the fact that they know how to just catapult this trick that they have into such an emotional, come and put your hands on your child's shoulders.
Yeah, to make it a moment for everybody.
I mean, they turned something just that was a trick into a moment.
Yeah.
And think of the talent and just how skillfully they move people into those moments. I cannot talk enough about how great these cast members are.
Yeah.
They're so
amazing.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Just the way they can, it's improv, but do it with such emotion and engage. Every guest is different. Every interaction is different. Every voyage is going to be different.
Not all guests are easy,
You know what I mean? For them to be able to do their craft with all those different elements and do it so well, every cast member that we've had on every voyage has been amazing. I'm so grateful.
So if you guys could wave a magic wand and you had unlimited budget and you didn't have to worry about the politics of everything and blah, 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 what would you change about Galactic Starcruiser?
Ooh.
I mean, I'd make the drinks free. I mean, let's be real. But maybe it's good that they're not.
Probably,
Yeah.
probably is. Probably
Oh
is
yeah.
Gemma Fryloth, Garcon.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. I don't have it. I hate to say it because I generally can,
Sure.
in my role in life, I have to give positive and negative feedback all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't have a complaint.
I think once we experience all the paths, there's a balance as, all of us have voyaged several times. Like at what point do we all have experienced all the paths and we're committed consumers of this product? How is Disney going to balance it to change it versus if it's still at this status where a whole group of people haven't even gotten to experience it the first time. But I do hope that at some point they kind of change, not the overall story, but maybe.
I mean, I got to tell you, I hope they do. First of all, listen, we all got to hope that it makes it that far, obviously. But, they built a story around the fact that it was restored to its original glory and the thing's got a huge history. You can have cruises back during the Empire time. You could have, you could do a lot of different things to change the timeline if you wanted to. Well, they need to release the music. Where is my Gaia soundtrack?
That's
Damn
still,
it.
still
we
crazy.
say that every episode.
Yeah,
like,
it's just insane.
Take my money.
Yes.
Where is that? I mean, my Gaia action figure. I've got my droid. He's over here, but no, and listen, if I'm gonna throw any Disney criticism out there, there are too many people we encounter while we're on Batu that have no idea what we're doing, and they ask you the question like. First of all, because we are fully immersed, so we're very armored up when we're in the park. And are you part of the park? Where's the restroom?
Where's the restroom?
Yeah. Where's the restroom more than anything else? But when you explain to them, what you're on, they've never heard about it. The most of the customers in the park have never heard about it. And these are people that are building Savi's lightsabers and so the marketing needs to change.
Yeah.
And they can afford to be at Walt Disney World because they're in the park. And let's be real, it's not, it doesn't
They've crossed the barrier, drug.
Cross the barrier.
Mhm.
And whatever, you can have Walt Disney World vacation packages for every budget, but it's still.
There are plenty of people that go for the premium package.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
There are.
So, but if they don't know about this thing, and again, I keep, so I have friends that have no Star Wars anything in their lives, and they're like, what would it be like for me? And I was like, well, did you watch Westworld? And they're like, yeah. Like, this is Westworld 1.0.
Yep.
No sex robots, but 1.0.
Right. Yes.
So it should, and this is, by the way, this is where I really get on the haters. If we don't dream like this and build things like this, it never happens.
Yep.
And whether this is a success or a failure or whatever ends up the final tell of the Starcruiser, it's the fact that it's been allowed to be made, that it was allowed to be populated and was successful for very, very, very many people, and hopefully will continue to be successful. That's how we progress the world,
Yeah.
And there is nothing like it. There's nothing at this point. It's almost like Iron Man, and there's nothing even close.
Mm-hmm.
And it's years away for anybody that wants to even try it. So anyway,
And
I would market it a lot better. That's all.
I do think,
It's funny, Naomi, being in the travel business, an idea that I've kind of thrown out there in the past that I just can't shake how inexpensive it would be to implement is, the exit from Galactic Starcruiser onto Batu. They've got that nice little terminal, and I just can't shake that they should have an in-universe CSL travel kiosk.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
That
Easiest
just,
thing.
That just
Easiest thing.
runs promos about the
Easiest thing.
CSL, fly
Yes.
on the Halcyon.
We-
It's our anniversary cruise.
So Sarah and I were talking about that when we you may have seen one of her little videos. We went late at night into Batu, and we went as far back as you can go before you hit the gate.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's not a single thing, then we got off of Star Tours and they've got all the destinations, still out there that have been there for tens of years at this point. There's nothing about the Chandrila Star Line. It's
change it all to
it's
be
such
branded
an easy layup.
Yeah.
Starline. Even just around the existing images, because those are all destinations potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think Disney's scared of people like wondering what that portal is, but I think instead they need to lean into it.
Yes,
absolutely.
We are wondering
Absolutely.
what that portal is. So tell us. Don't be afraid of people asking. Lead people to ask. What? There's a ship back there. You will fly me up to it, and I will see lightsabers and cool stuff.
Yep.
I couldn't get that done fast. I would just sit there and look at this travel kiosk all day long, going, I can't wait to be on the Halcyon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, set it up as an active receiving terminal with schedules and stuff. Make the person have to ask the question, what is this all about? Well, it's actually it's a branch of the Chandrila Star Line, and we've rebuilt our Starcruiser, and we're going to be taking off anytime you want.
It's funny. I've been talking about this magical kiosk for months now that I want them to do. I have never once considered Star Tours. The travel posters.
That didn't occur to me either. That's
easy layup is the perfect word for that. I mean, that writes itself. Again, I don't want to tell Disney how to do their job, but Disney put some CSL posters outside of Star Tours.
Again, I'm a shareholder for sure, and obviously a super fan of everything they do. But some of the marketing tactics, you're just like, come on, guys, just do it. That's a different podcast of, are we dealing with an entertainment company or or product company? So I'll be happy to come back on that one if you'd like.
That would be great.
And people ask us a lot of the times, what if Galactic Starcruiser fails? And I'm like, it's already succeeded. Honestly, it did succeed. And frankly, it's changed the three of our lives. And it's not just us. I mean, there's a whole community here now of people that are together.
It's thousands and thousands of people.
Thousands
it's not
of people.
small.
Yeah.
It's very large. Just being able to see all the community and, everyone helping everyone come up with a backstory or what about this for costuming, all the different pieces of the puzzle that go into it is really crazy. It's amazing.
So, Naomi, tell us about the recent announcement that you made about this voyage in October.
It was something that it kind of has always been in the back of my mind. But until recently, our agency, Magic Family Getaways, reached out to Disney, and we really wanted to come up with a way. And I had a client also that came to me that's actually on the West Coast. And he is a Twi'lek. He's Shakti. And his name's Bob Jensen. And he also wanted to collaborate. He's like, I really have this idea. I want to do this. I'm a part of the lightsaber group and two Twi'lek groups on Facebook. And he's like, I really want to go on this. I think it would be a great opportunity. And I would love it. He wanted to do a cosplay only voyage. And it was something that, I'd wanted to do for a while. So we went to Disney. Our agency is an authorized Disney travel vacation planner. So we went to Disney and kind of felt them out about how they were open to it. I think they're very excited about it. And we just got the date, which is October 10th. It's the day after Columbus Day for 2023. We're still in the contract process. So it's kind of a long process because it's the first time they've ever really done it for a group of guests through a travel agency. Pricing and details will be coming up shortly. We have some exciting things with gifts planned, but it's really a great opportunity for people to come together that, really want to ensure that it'll be a cosplay voyage. So we're asking that each person committing to a cabin will be fully cosplayed for day 1 and day 2.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And it's not an adults only I know some other groups are probably working on that for the future. We're keeping it open to families. But right now, I would say that the interested parties, it is actually mostly adults.
We've talked endlessly about how Disney could do like special type of cruises or whatever. I never once considered an external agency booking out a group
Yeah, that's brilliant.
to accomplish
Yeah.
that goal.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me.
And it's probably
is.
you must feel like a pioneer in a sense, because I can imagine
It's exciting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very exciting.
I'm already thinking of another character for.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate everything that you're doing for the Starcruiser community.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having
We're
us.
so happy to be here, and we're so happy to be a part of the Starcruiser community.
So, Naomi, where can people find you if they're looking for help to travel?
Yes, I'm on Instagram as Magic Family Getaways _Naomi, Naomi. I also have a Facebook group at Magic Family Getaways Naomi. And then if you are a hopeful traveler or you have traveled, there's a Facebook group. It's called Galactic Starcruiser Drop Post Voyage Emotional Support. And there we just kind of talk to each other and help everyone out and, lift everyone's spirits after the voyage, just to help relive great memories together.
This is Layla, rather.
Oh, that's great. Nice. Oh, she's precious.
And Justin, if people were interested in being a part of the 501st, what is the
Yeah.
best path for them to find?
So we want you, first of all. If you have any desire to build a movie accurate costume of one of the villainous characters of the Star Wars universe, go to 501st.com to learn how to join. You can click there. And like I said, we're located worldwide, and just, it's a community that you'll love forever, and you'll be doing great things for charities and each other after you join. So we'd love to have you.
Well, we can't wait to meet you both in person at the May 3, 4, 5 voyage, but we're actually going to meet you first at the Starcruiser Superfans Muster Meetup at Disney Springs. Thank you so much for coming, and we can't wait to Star Cruise together.
Sounds
Absolutely.
great. Thank you so much. We'll see you there.
Wow, what an absolutely fun conversation
That was awesome.
that was.
Yeah.
That was super cool.
And to think that we get to meet them in person in just a couple months.
Yeah.
It's coming so fast. I can't believe it's only a couple months away.
Something that's kind of fun to note is that Justin just got re-upped, voted back in as the Legion commanding officer for the 501st. So he's here to stay for a while with that organization.
Have you ever wanted to do that?
It's funny. I look at it and I always thought there's no way I could. But you know what? You just watch these people and it's so motivating that if they could create this armor, why can't I? I'd have to create some plus size. Is there a chunky stormtrooper design?
Well, yeah, but I mean, and you don't have to do a stormtrooper. You could do, go look on his Facebook page and look on 501st.com. You can see all the costumes that Justin's done, along with everybody else.
Crazy.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be a stormtrooper.
Just the utter creativity at play. So I got to tell you that this is starting to kind of be like, I could do this.
Yep.
Which is exactly the message we want to get out to people.
Sure.
If you want to do this, you can.
Yeah,
one step at a time.
Yeah, and I just think that it's so fun I've seen the 501st at several of the events that we attend, Comic-Con, some of the other charity things that we've been to, and I've always thought, wow, that takes a lot of dedication, and it does, don't get me wrong. But now I think we're capable of that dedication, just from the stuff that we've done with the podcast and talking to folks, just getting a taste of what it's like to put that effort in. Imagine what you get out when you do that. Yeah.
Well, like you mentioned, is they don't just do stormtroopers, but for the purposes of this question, what's your favorite stormtrooper type armor that you've seen in the films, in the animation? What's something that always strikes you as just like, that's my go-to?
Well, I don't know the names of all these various stormtroopers as well as you do, Martin, but the ones that are in Jedi, the third, obviously episode 6, when they're attacking the bunker, what are those guys?
The
on
biker
the
scouts.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. 100%. Like biker scout, all day long is my fave.
Is that yours? How about yours, Christine?
I don't know. I really like the snow troopers.
Yeah, they look cool.
Yeah,
Snow
I think
troopers.
that's pretty cool.
And the Dark Troopers from Rogue One. What am I talking about?
Oh, wow.
Done.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that look when they were marching across the field at the beginning of the movie, and you know that
The
stuff's
Death
gonna go
Troopers,
down.
yeah.
The Death Troopers,
Yeah.
those are amazing. That's my favorite.
I'm going to stick with Biker Scout. I mean,
Yeah.
that was one of my favorite action figures as a kid. And what I just love that they kept coming up with different designs.
Yeah.
They didn't just cheap out and say, okay, another film needs some more stormtroopers. They said, let's get some new stormtroopers. And like the snow trooper design, how cool and samurai that looks. I just
Yeah.
absolutely love looking at the Macquarie drawings and what did they change and what they keep. And you look at some of these old Macquarie drawings, and they end up getting reused in later animation as a completely different thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they've so much of the current content is still drawing inspiration from those original designs, and I love that.
Well, if people wanted to find us on the interwebs, Christine, how would they do that?
Well, you can always email us at heroesofthehalcyon@gmail.com. We love to hear your stories, your pre-stories, your
Yeah.
post stories, everything in between. You can find us on Instagram at Heroes of the Halcyon, on Twitter at Halcyon_heroes, and make sure to pay attention to Instagram and to the Facebook group for the May 3rd voyage to find out more information about our Starcruiser Superfan Muster Meetup.
Well, it's always fun to shoot the poodoo with all the Starcruiser superfans out there. So until next episode, it's our honor. Let's raise our glasses with the Halcyon toast.
Tabuite!